What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Be Heard podcast. Today is episode 2. And we have a special guest, one of my good friends. I'm not going to say the name just yet,
surprise.
He's about to drop leadership principles, knowledge, wisdom. And are you ready?
I'm really ready.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
20 out of 10.
Oh, I'm 21 out of 10. But let's go. Stay tuned for episode number 2. Let's go.
You are now listening to the Be Heard podcast, where your voice matters, your story matters, and now it's time to be heard.
Yes, that is right. You're watching the Be Heard podcast, episode number 2. And y'all, we have a special guest, and we're honored.
We're so excited to have you.
His name is Lee. Everybody say Lee.
Lee.
That's a tradition. We're going to keep doing it. But it's going to be a great day. We got Lee. That brother smiling. The chain look good on you, brother. The chain look good. And so just want to say this podcast allows voices to be heard. People who are doing great work in the community, spreading great love, great knowledge. And Lee, you doing that, bro. You're spreading just gems of leadership. Look at that. Look at that smile. Let's go. Like I said, bro, you're doing an amazing job. And I appreciate you very much. And learned a lot from you.
Yeah.
So...
We're so excited to have you on.
Listen, I want to say this real quick because I know we have questions and different things. But, Evan, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Like a big brother proud of you because you have had the courage to try. And that is something that, you know, in our culture, in our society right now, so many people are dealing with so much trauma and all these things are happening in people's lives, but you have continuously and consistently just tried.
Yeah.
And that's why God has been blessing you.
Wow.
You, Adina. just you all just deciding, hey, this is something that we want to do. This is something that we want to invest in. It is a huge thing to just say yes and take the first step. I say it all the time. The first step is the most important step.
Yeah.
It is not all the other stuff. It is the small, humble, hey, I'm just going to do this because I feel like I'm supposed to do this. Wow. That leads to everything else that you're going to do in your life. And so I'm so proud of you, Evan. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, man.
And I'm excited for what God does in your life, but ultimately the impact that you are making and are going to make in the future, and the things that you and your team and people like Adina being a part of what you do, the world is going to look at this moment and be like, man, that boy left it all on the field. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm going to shut up because you have questions for me.
Well, honestly, bro, I just say thank you very much. That's very encouraging to hear. And you know, at times it gets tough, but it's crazy that this whole Be Heard thing started as just a thought, like, be heard. And so the first thing we ever did at Be Heard was listen. And so we listened to what people want, listen to their needs. And many people were saying, man, I just want a shower. And so by us listening first, it allowed their voice to be heard, and we were able to get a mobile shower trailer.
Yep.
And so just because we listened first, somebody else, got help. And so I think if our generation get that, if let's just listen first instead of pointing the finger of, hey, you need this, you need that, you need that. And you're taking away their voice. You're stripping their voice away by putting your own opinion on them. So I think Be Heard, we should just listen first. Listen first is key. So thank you for saying that. That's awesome, bro. But yeah, bro. Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. And so we got a bunch of questions for you. Dina's been doing some research.
I have.
Come on, Dina.
I have been doing some research. If you haven't checked out Lee's podcast, make sure you check out Leading with Lee. You can find him. Tell them where you can find them.
Yes, you can find it on YouTube and pretty much all podcasting platforms. This season mainly has been on YouTube, and it's been cool to I've been mainly interviewing a lot this season, just having great voices and people come on and share just from different walks of life, different industries. A lot of entrepreneurs have been on there this season. A lot of just leaders in different spaces have come on and just shared, and I've learned so much from them. And so, yeah, I would encourage people to go listen, check it out, subscribe.
Hey, so shameless plug is all right. That's all
subscribe. Right. And really, in this upcoming year, there's a lot of things that I'm going to be working towards and doing. So I'm super excited. Yeah. It's crazy for me. I'll be going to see year 3 of doing leading.
Wow.
So yeah, leading turns 3 years old in 2022,
wow.
And so it's this has been my baby. I've been taking and doing it for a while. So yeah.
Let's talk about that. So what made you, or what inspired you, or what umphed you, if that's a word.
Yeah.
To start that.
Well, one of the things that I think is very apparent is that, and some of this is, by God's providence, obviously, but for me, I realized that I've come to learn that I'm a builder. So there's nothing that I'm going to do in my life that is going to be handed to me. Yeah. And I've come to learn that the way God opens doors for me is me starting something. And so what happened was it even started before leading. What really happened, specifically with leading, I was having a conversation with my best friends, Kyle Sturck, who used to produce Leading with Lee. Evan has met him because he was producing Leading in the first season as a podcast. And one of the things that what happened in our conversation, we started talking about leading back in 2018. Like it was like early 2018. We were starting to have conversations about it. And long story short, I had been started talking to him about it. I was like, man, I don't know. I feel like I need this urge to just share about leadership because I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's so many people that are abdicating responsibility and not being fully engaged in making a difference in the spaces that they're in. One thing I fundamentally believe is every single person has a capacity and level of leadership. The problem is that we've taught people for so long that it is positional. It is what you do, who you know, if you got a title. But the reality is every single person can make a difference in somebody else's life. But we have to put value on the individual for them to see that they can make a difference. And it doesn't all look the same. It's not supposed to look the same because God created us all uniquely. So my expression and the way I talk about leadership is not the same way as Maxwell or Eric Thomas or Miles Monroe or any of these other people. Someone asked me one time, I was doing a Leaderships Live, and someone commented and it was like, who are some of the people you looked up to? And I named some people, but I said it with the caveat of, yeah, I admire them and I respect their craft, but I'm not them. The reason why we know who they are is because they were unique enough and authentic enough in what they did, and that actually caused people to be attracted to their gifts. And so for me with leadership, I've never just been given a leadership position. I've never been just hired it has always been, Lee, you got to build this. Lee, you got to start somewhere. Lee, you got to say, okay, I'm thinking if somebody gives this to me, that validates me. Actually, it has nothing to do with them validating me. It has to me knowing who I am and what I'm created to do and me walking in that. And so that's how leading started. It started in a conversation, just like it started for you as an idea. It started as a conversation, and then we started planning. And then early 2019, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't have any money. I don't have a budget. I don't have all this stuff. Let me just plan this Leading with Lee event, right? And I did it at Hardesty Library, and big ups, big shout outs to Kyle. I love that man. I mean, I literally, I tell him all the time, I would lay down my life for him because he believed in my dream and legitimately invested. So he filmed the first Leading free of charge because he just believed in his boy's dream.
Wow.
I still have that video, and it's on my laptop. And from time to time, I go back and watch it, and I'm saying to myself, how in the world? This had to be a God thing. didn't charge anybody or anything like that. But that moment of expression and that moment of just doing it actually pushed me to believe, oh, actually, you do have something to say. You do have something that's impactful. So that's kind of how leading started. It just started with me just saying, oh, well, nobody gonna open the door. I gotta build it. So let me start building the blocks to get there.
Yeah, that's okay. I guess I have kind of a two-part question, I think, for both of you that you guys can probably speak to. I know in my personal life, I have a lot, because I'm kind of a perfectionist. if you don't know, so
Yes.
if to me, it's like hard to start something if I know it's gonna not be up to par or exactly how I want it to be when it first starts. So what are, I guess, okay, two things, because you both covered questions. What is the biggest misconception about leadership, and what drives your what's the word I'm looking for? That initiative.
Yeah, so I think, well, one that's been a struggle, a learning point for me is I feel like developing people under you and then they leave. I feel like for me being young, it's been hard to go through, because you invest in people, you believe in people, they're part of your team, and then one day they're just gone. And I think for me as a leader, one thing I've always learned from a young age is it's okay to be misunderstood. And so I think how I do things looks differently to people, how they would do things. And so I believe I have to be comfortable in the vision I see and the leadership that that's been invested into me. So one, as a leader of the Be Heard movement, I want my team to feel
Right.
heard. You know, that would be kind of comical if my team was not heard on the Be Heard team. And so I just really make sure my people, my team are heard. And then, but like I said, it hurts when, to see people you've attached to as a team to go. And so that's been rough.
Yeah.
I have to answer your question, Adina, but I have to
Go ahead.
I have to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
My encouragement to you, Evan, is to realize that them leaving, and if they've grown and developed and leave you, it actually is a reflection of how great of a leader you are.
Wow.
Because one of the things that our culture has not taught us well is how powerful it is for somebody to say, man, I've learned so much from you, and now I'm motivated to go do something. Evan and Adina and everybody who listens to this and watches this, if you are a great leader and people leave you, it is not an indictment of how great of a leader you are. It is proof that you are a great leader.
That's so wow.
Leave, boy.
Wow.
It's proof. Because let's even take this, and I'll give you a great example of this. And I'm gonna use a sports analogy because they're easy to use, right? There are some coaches in the NFL that you can look at their record, or you can look at the teams that they've coaches, and you can see that there have been several coaches who used to work for them that coach other teams now. I can Bill Belichick got a bunch of coaches in the NFL or at college level. Nick Saban got a bunch of coaches in the NFL at college level or high school level. You got people like Don Shula, who was, a legendary coach back in the day. You have people like Mike Hunger. These people have trees. Let's go to the NBA. Greg Popovich has some of his players have retired and come back and now work for the team.
Yeah.
As advisors and coaches and different. It is proof of your work. And I think one of the things that is sobering for any person that's in leadership is to recognize that I have to be dedicated to not having people just fulfill my dreams, but fulfill theirs.
Wow.
Wow, that's good.
Because one of the problems we have in our time is everybody wants you to attach yourself to their vision without ever creating an environment of reciprocity where they're saying, wait, how can I push you to go and be who you're supposed to be? Because when you stand before God, you're not going to stand before God for their dream.
Come on.
You're going to stand before God for yours.
Come on, talk about it.
What did he tell you to do?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We have to get into a place of maturity to recognize that, man, I am it's fantastic they're leaving my business. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they're grateful for what I did for them. They're always going to give me credit. I'm like, man, like when I get to the point where I'm hiring employees or coaching people or building people up or helping them build businesses or whatever, I am looking forward to the day when they call me and be like, Lee, thank you for every conversation we had. Thank you for pushing me to go speak to these people. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this event where I didn't know that it was in me to do. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
The funny part is I'm doing it now, but it looks different, right? It's, and so, and I know I have to answer your question, but I had to speak to that because one of the things, you don't allow the enemy to get in your head and think there's something wrong with you because that's what you're doing. No. It is just proof. It's just proof. They are the evidence that your method works.
Yeah, and so I feel like another thing as leader that kind of clicked to my head what you were talking about is people's opinions. I used to let people's opinions get to me all the time, but now there's this quote I say often: if you live by people's compliments, you will die by their criticism.
Yep.
And so if you know who you are and you know what the vision you have in front of you,
Yep.
I don't have to go up my way to impress you on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, So this podcast is to impress somebody. It's to add value to the community, add value to our nation. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Could you repeat the question? Because I know I took us an aside,
The question was, what is the biggest misconception about leadership?
I just gave it to you.
I was going to say,
I literally just gave you the
biggest.
the biggest misconception is, and to that end is that. Oh, I also should say this. One of the biggest misconception is we assume that leadership is a personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
Like we attribute leadership to very charismatic, extroverted, very bombastic, big personality people.
Mm-hmm.
We assume that that's what leadership is, but that's actually has nothing to do with leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the most profound and powerful leaders are very introverted. Yeah. They're very observant. They're very like they watch. Like it's funny because I've been listening to this podcast again, and you'll find out stuff about me because of the things that I listen to. But I revisited this podcast that I had listened to a few years ago. It's called Presidential. And in this podcast, they've been talking about our presidents, and every podcast is centered around a particular president. And what's interesting, right before I came in here, I was listening to the episode about John F. Kennedy. And what's interesting is they even said this in the podcast that if you met him when he was like in his 30s and 40s, or just met him when he was younger, he was unassuming. You wouldn't think he would have been president. Because by personality, he was very charming. He's very likable. Mm-hmm. But by personality, he's a very shy person. He was a very reserved, They talked about how his early speeches and his early career were horrible. He had horrible stage presence. Because you would assume that, oh man, this man was president. He was he was just that dude. Right. But and the interesting thing about even him and his family, and I'm not gonna get on a tangent because I know we got more things to talk about, but even in his family, it was assumed that his brother would have been president, his older brother, Joe Jr. And Joe Jr. was very charismatic. Joe Jr. was very he was that guy. You know what I'm saying? He was very brash. He was a big personality. And there was literally something that one of the biographers that was talking about it said that it's literally come to mind, and it stuck in my mind. I'm like, man, that's crazy. He basically said Joe Jr. probably only would have just been a senator.
Wow.
And that's all. But it was something about John that even though, Joe Jr. ended up passing away during World War II, and that kind of propelled John towards doing the things that he realized that he was put on earth to do, there was something about John that was late in bloom. See, I think late bloomers need to hear this.
Come on. Yes.
Because one of the problems is we sit up here and allow people to validate or tell us who we are in one season of our lives or one time in our lives, and it may just be that you haven't bloomed yet.
That's so good.
You're not running a race against anybody else. You're only running yours.
Yeah.
That's why when horses are racing, they have the blinders on. You only can run towards the mark that you're getting to if you focus on yours. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about leadership is that it's a personality trait. We think that it's just a personality. That ain't it.
No. I loved what Bree Davis said on your last episode, because she said great leaders are not the people that have all the answers. It's the people, they're the ones that can pull out the answers of the people that are on their team. And I loved that. And just me personally, I am really thankful I didn't peak in high school or college, because I'm telling you, it is
ain't
life
even there
is
yet.
So much better. And I think we put so much pressure. And there's one artist that I listen to. She's not a Christian artist. Her name is Phoebe Bridgers, and she's 27. And she's just now, starting to get bigger. I think that she's definitely on a projectile to her industry, or her career is going to grow.
Right.
But to me, she's so encouraging, because it's dang, she's 27, and that's not even old. I think we put a lot of pressure on people who are, kids who've grown up and have played one sport their entire life.
Right.
And you speak that one thing, and then they get to college or they get to wherever, and then they stop playing and they have no sense of who they are.
Right.
And I think just as a society, why can't we celebrate those who have bloomed later in their lives?
And we also have to get to a place where we recognize that a person's purpose has nothing to do with their occupation.
Period.
The problem we have is we live in a culture that specifically creates identity based on what we do and not who we are. Mm-hmm. So when we lose that thing, we're like, oh, I don't know. There's, and I always reference this because it has stuck with me for years. There's this woman named Annie F. Downs, and I talk about her all the time. She talks about this idea and this concept of having a thesis for your life. She was an English teacher. She literally said it's just like an English paper. There's a thesis statement, and all of the paragraphs in that article is to point back to the thesis.
Yeah.
It could be about anything, but we have to teach people how to get to a place where they have a vision statement for their lives, and everything that they do, every decision that they make, every job they take, every relationship they engage with, every person they say yes to, every person they say no to, is connected to the vision or connected to that thesis for their lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, at this particular point in my life, I realized that no occupation can fully define what I'm going to do in my life, but I'm going to be operating in this specific thing when I'm in that space.
Yeah.
For instance, the thesis for my life is to equip, inspire, and empower. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. So right now, as a credit union advisor, TTCU Federal Credit Union, I'm trying to equip folks. I'm trying to inspire them, and I'm trying to empower them. When I do Leading with Lee, I'm trying to equip, inspire, and empower. That's what I'm doing. In the future, when I someday run for office, I'm trying to equip, empower, and inspire. Because I recognize that it doesn't matter what job I'm doing. This is an outgrowth of who I am.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's about authenticity, and that's what's happening with Phoebe. Phoebe is being authentic, and she continues to be authentic, and now she's being rewarded for it. Somebody else that came to my mind when you were talking is Lucky Day. You know how old Lucky is? He's 35. He's 35, 36 years old. He's been around for 10 years, but it seems like in the last 2 or 3, Lucky's just been, and that's the thing. When you know who you are, when you know what you do, when you know what you bring into the world, you can operate at a level of being like, bruh, you don't know it yet. Y'all don't know I'm cold, but I know I'm cold.
Let them sleep. Let them. Y'all
can
have
sleep
a
on
good.
me.
Y'all have a good snooze.
You can sleep. You can. you know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let you
yeah.
catch up to me because of what I've seen and what I'm doing.
Man,
So
that's awesome. Okay, next question. What is the most wait. Yeah. What is the most impactful leadership advice you've received/given? So that's a two-part. That's two parts.
oh man. And this happened to me just recently. The biggest piece of advice that I think I've gotten has been have somebody in your life that can shut you down.
Yeah.
Because they have the license and the right to say to you, nope, you need to get somewhere and sit down.
Wow.
Humbling.
And this is interesting because it came from a former politician who's from my hometown. He used to be mayor of my hometown, and we're having a conversation. I interviewed him for leading, which will come out here pretty soon.
Yes.
And he said that to me. We were having a conversation. He actually said that to me. He said, you need to have somebody in your life that can tell you no. Because that humility is something that you need. The second thing is, and it's funny because you said it earlier, I think the best piece of advice that anybody can learn and do is how to listen. The most powerful thing you can do is give people space to be honest and share. That's the most powerful thing you do. Y'all do it every day. Every time you're engaging with somebody and talking to them and asking them questions about what's going on with them, that gives people the reprieve on one end, but also gives them the freedom to be authentic and say what they need to say. So I think that it's having someone tell you no, because you don't want to get too big for your britches, as the old folks say, and also at the same time, just being observant, being even if it's counter to your personality, learn to step back and just ask questions.
That's so good. That is so good.
This man Lee.
If you want to see more of Lee, go ahead and check out Leading with Lee. He's got a whole 3 seasons.
Oh, man. That is incredible. You're just full of. I feel like what we see now is what you have been studying and even experienced in private. And so, as a result of what you sacrifice in your private time, we're better because of. And people who are listening, this will add value to their life. So thank you for taking time out of your own personal time when you could be just big chilling
At the house sleep.
Right.
Listen.
Right. But I've been to your house. You have books everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's just
Leaders are readers.
Yeah. So I just want to say, because of your preparation, because of your intentionality of wanting to be better, you're also bettering other people. So thank you for that. We have 2 minutes left. So Dina, do you have?
I have 2 more things. I'm going to speak to you, Lee, because I've known you for a couple years now.
Yeah.
We've been friends, and watching your journey, watching you start it, running it, crazy faith with it, and then now where you are now, like, it's inspiring, and continue to do what you do. And my final question for you asked this on your podcast, so I have to ask you, if you were a song,
oh man,
what song would you be and why?
That is you know what's funny is you are wild. That's so funny you ask me that, because I literally was having this thought not too long ago. I was like, what if somebody asked me this question? What would I actually say? And now I'm stumped because I'm trying to ask myself, oh my gosh, what song would I pick? I have like 2 or 3 songs popping in my head.
All of them. Just tell
album, don't you?
Give us the album. Give
I
us
know.
the EP.
I don't know why this song is in my head. Y'all forgive me. Literally, getting Everybody Mad by OT Genesis just popped in my head. I don't know why, but I think, for me, because of my experiences in my life, I think I understand where he's coming from. When he's like, I'm getting to what I'm about to get to. And some people are going to be upset with the fact that I'm going after what I'm going with, but I don't care. Because they still going to be on those blocks that they are. And I'm going to be up here. I'm going to be just living my best life because I'm pursuing the things that I want to pursue, because I want to pursue it. And if nobody else sees me pursuing it, we good, because I'm happy.
Come on.
It's about my happy. Everybody been talking about protect your peace, bro. Protect your peace. Protect your happiness and your peace. And so you got to do that. So, you know, that's the song that popped in my head. I'm sorry. It was a ratchet song.
It's good. Sometimes you need it, but
I be you know, I just be in the car.
But yeah, Lee, so we appreciate your time.
Most definitely.
Hey, we love you too.
We
and so
do.
I love y'all too, man.
It's
Thank
an
you so
honor
much for
that you
being
joined
here.
us. And drop your Instagram and YouTube names right quick for us, Lee.
Yeah, so on Instagram and pretty much all platforms, it's Lee A. Scott II or Lee A. Scott II. It's Roman numeral. I am the second. And on YouTube, it is Leading with Lee. I you know, once again, it's truly an honor to be with you guys. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, Adina. And I'm excited for the future of what people see and what people are able to receive, because you all have been making sacrifices for the simple fact to bring light and attention to things that really matter ultimately in the kingdom.
Come on.
So
Thank you.
that's all I have to say.
Hey, we appreciate you. We love you. Be Heard episode 2 is a wrap. Let's go. Peace. Man, brother.